Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
Who's first?
Mr. Marshall first. Mr. Marshall, come up to the door.
It's his mother in the courtroom.
All right, this is the people versus Theodore Marshall.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jeffrey Fant on behalf of Mr. Marshall for limited purposes of arraignment. We wait for all readings. Stand mute.
I'll enter a not guilty plea on his behalf. Mr. Marshall, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say orally or in writing can and will be used against you. You also have a right to have an attorney present during any future questioning and any future court hearings. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to represent you, and I'm signing the order for appointment now. You have 2 court dates within the next 21 days. The first is your probable cause conference. That will be via Zoom on 4/8 of 2024. The following week on April 15th of 2024 will be your preliminary exam. On that date, the prosecutor must show that a crime was committed and probable cause exists to charge you with that crime. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Is that a yes or a no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, thank you. I have to be able to hear you for the court reporter. All right, Mr. Fant, what's the bond?
Judge, no history, no holds. His mother's in the courtroom. The address, which is a new address, is where he'll be residing. And I've explained the court's contact provisions to him, and would request a personal bond on this matter. And I spoke with his mother earlier today, and she's back here this afternoon.
These are very serious allegations.
They are, Judge.
The 15-year felony.
We have 2 19-year-olds, Judge.
Is that Pine Street where the 2 of them were residing, or is that?
Yes, sir.
Are there children in common?
Yes.
They're married?
Yes.
All right. All right. And ma'am, can you stand and say your name real loud?
Marshall.
Can you spell your first name?
M-A-R-C-H.
Okay, and then Marshall, M-A-R-S-H-A-L-L?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and this is your son?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is Mr. Marshall able to reside with you?
Yeah, sure.
He'll be with you because he can't go home.
With me in my home or with his dad in his home?
All right. I'm having him stay with you
Okay.
because he's going, do you have a landline?
Yes.
All right. I'm giving you a $75,000 personal bond with a GPS tether. I want to be really clear. I know the attorney told you, but Mr. Marshall, you're young. If you mess this up, I want to be clear. You will sit in the Wayne County Jail, and it is not nice. If you don't like it next door at Taylor Police Department, you're going to hate Wayne County. If you do not follow my no contact order, you will sit in Wayne County for weeks at least. You're to appear in court as directed. You're not to leave the state without permission of the court. You're not to commit any new crimes while released. You're to immediately notify the court of change of address or phone number. You can have no contact with Kashmir Randall, 0 contact. That means you can't call her, write her, email her. You can't send her anything through social media. You can't comment about her on social media. You can't have anyone else do any of these things except for your attorney. You can't send her blank messages. You can't use apps on the computer that allow you to generate phone numbers to contact her. This is an order. If it's going to be changed, I will be the one to change it at a future court hearing when both parties are present. If you see her at a party store, or if you see her at a barbecue or at any sort of event, a store, you're to turn around and walk out immediately. Do you understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you violate this order, you will sit in the Wayne County Jail. I will turn that $75,000 personal bond into a $75,000 cash bond. You're not to enter the premises at 12707 Pine Street. I will allow you 1 visit to obtain personal belongings if you are accompanied by a police officer. You can't possess or have access to firearms. You cannot purchase or consume alcohol or illegal drugs. And those are the terms of your bond.
Judge, it will likely, given the time and the weekend, it'll likely be Tuesday, maybe Wednesday before he gets released.
I understand that, but I'm not comfortable. I'm giving him a personal bond on a 15-year felony assaultive case. He's getting the GPS tether.
Thank you.
All right, sir, sit tight for a bit.
Wait, can I say something, please?
Sure.
Your Honor, please.
Officer Ziegler, we'll need that form signed, please.
Okay. Just have her come over to the front desk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
All right, Your Honor, we're going to give Mr. Whitler a shot again today. His attitude hasn't changed.
Does he have pants on?
He does. He's missing his shirt today.
That's okay, I'll take it.
All right, Mr. Whitler, come on up here to the door. Mr. Whitler, come to the door, please. There we go. Fully dressed, that's perfect.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Whitler. Sir, you've been brought to court on a misdemeanor charge. There are 2. There's interfering with a police officer and a larceny case. Both are misdemeanors punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. On the larceny, it could also be 8 times the value of the property. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to represent you. You have the right to a trial, and at that trial, you have the following rights: to call witnesses to speak for you at trial. You can get an order signed by the court to require witnesses to come to court. You have a right to see, hear, and question all witnesses against you at trial. You have a right to be a witness for yourself or to remain silent. And if you chose not to be a witness on your own behalf, the prosecuting official could not comment on your refusal to testify. You have a right to be presumed innocent unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You also have a right to a bond. Mr. Whitler, is there anything you want to tell the court with respect to a bond? Seeing nothing? Here's the thing, Mr. Officer Ziegler, I'm holding this arraignment. If he refuses to participate, I'm not going to call him back every day. At some point, we have to have a hearing. And if he doesn't want to participate in it, that's his right. But that's what we're doing. So it was read on the record. I'm indicating that Mr. Whitler refused to come to the door and lay down in cell. We tried this yesterday. We'll do it forever. Mr. Fanto, I'm going to ask you to stand in as standby counsel here. I know that Mr. Whitler's refused to talk to either of us, but with respect to bond,
Judge, I don't have any confirmation of his address, showing on the files a Toledo address. The, here my notes. He has hold Southgate and Allen Park. And it looks like his last conviction was a 2021. If the court's not inclined to do a personal bond, I'd ask for it to be marked medical for mental health evaluation.
Yeah, and can you approach real quick, Jeff?
Your Honor, we done with Mr. Whitler?
We are done. Yes, thank you.
Well, what do I put for a bond?
His $500 cash bond and his file will be marked navigator for the mental health program in the Wayne County Jail, medical mental.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. You have a great weekend, good holiday.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. All right, Anthony Terry.
Chelsea Conner, on behalf of probation.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jeffrey Fanto on behalf of Mr. Terry. I spoke to Mr. Terry, prepared to plead guilty to the first two allegations. The missing the testing date, Judge. He had called. He indicates that he spoke with the testing folks. They were apparently late updating in that particular day. So he won't admit to that. He'll acknowledge the first two. He understands he has a right to have a hearing and is prepared to waive that right.
Okay. We'll get to the third one in a minute. So you understand it's your fourth technical violation? I could just put you in jail
Yes, ma'am.
for the, whatever the maximum was at this point. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go over your advice or rights form with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you understand it?
Yes, I did.
And did you sign and date it?
Yes, I did.
You understand, Mr. Terry, that if you enter a plea of guilty, that you'll be waiving your hearing rights. There will be no hearing of any kind.
Yes, ma'am.
And is it still your desire to plead guilty knowing that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you fail to attend treatment as directed by therapists?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you fail to attend community service on March 2nd of 24?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you say fail to attend treatment as directed, did he miss an appointment?
Yes, Judge. He was
He missed one appointment.
Then
two.
he rescheduled it, Judge.
one with the therapist, one with the psychiatrist. The therapist had to be the one to call him. She called him the next day on 3/6. He said he'd call her back. As of my appointment with him on 3/14, he still did not reach back out to the therapist to reschedule.
What are you thinking?
I thought there wasn't a plan set with her at that time because my therapist has switched twice now, and I screwed up.
Mr. Fanto, what are your thoughts?
The therapist switching is a problem that we certainly understand that is happening from time to time. He wasn't sure of the plan, and I had a conversation with him that whenever he meets with Ms. Havner or myself or the court or his therapist, his last words when he leaves those is to make sure he understands everything each party wants. And for his therapist meeting, it's okay, my next appointment is on such and such a date. Is that correct? So that he, does that. He didn't check his email because he's in a job search situation and gets a bunch. And so I offered a workaround for that, and he's going to create another email for his court-related matters so that he can keep track of those much more easily. Just a little bit of organization. I don't think it's intentional thumbing the nose, but it's just a little bit of organization.
What were the prior violations?
The first one was increased levels of testing. The second one.
I mean, what the violate, is it just okay, let's see.
He got community service for the first violation, he got court watching for the last 2 violations, but they have been due to testing, either increased levels the first one, I think the second one was he missed a test, and the third one, he took CBD gummies.
Mr. Terry, you're sitting here, you've sat here and done your community service. I generally think I'm pretty reasonable,
I agree with you, ma'am.
right? I'm not out to get anybody.
No, ma'am,
I mean, I treat everybody that comes in here fairly,
I agree with you.
but like you, I mean, you have to recognize, like, this is not, you're on probation and you're an adult. Like, it's not our job to make sure, I mean, you'll get violated if you don't do all the things, but Kelsey's not your nanny. Mr. Fando's
You're right.
not your nanny. Your therapist isn't your nanny. Like, this is your responsibility.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
And there are certain benefits you get out of this, and I expect you to take advantage of them. You're gonna go, I mean, you can't just cancel these appointments. It drives me crazy at the guidance center. Do you know how many spots the guidance center holds for us so that people that are in my treatment court program or on probation here can get services? And when you don't show up, they've taken an hour of their time, right? They can't schedule anyone else when you don't show up. They can't call someone and say, hey, come right now, I'll see you now. Like you have the privilege of being at this court where we can get you in fairly quickly, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But that is so inconsiderate of professionals' times to not show up to those appointments. It's frustrating for them. It harms other people that come into this court, because if nobody ever shows for their appointments, how many appointments are they going to hold for our people?
You're right.
Like it's out of respect to these people that make time for you and understanding, like, there's no one else. It's not McDonald's. There's not someone else in line, right? Like, they can't just open their door and be like, well, I guess you come in. That's not how it works. It's an appointment with a medical professional. You have got to show up for those. It is so disrespectful
Yes,
to
ma'am.
not.
I would note that he reports that he tested the next day, after he missed the test.
Yes, he did.
On the 321 test?
Yes.
So they were a little late to updating the colors, however, the date it said 320 instead of 321. So Mr. Terry should have been aware that it was the wrong date, and there's also a website that they can
Yeah.
check.
Yeah, but nobody, I mean, Kelsey, like, I get it, but nobody, if I had to call a number every morning and I call the number every morning and it's like, today is the such and such a date, these are the colors. I'm just listening for tan. I'm just listening for scar, like, I get that, like,
And
it is your responsibility, but ultimately, like, if you went there and you checked and it said you were good for the day, I wouldn't expect anybody would listen to the day.
yes, ma'am. I also even sent Miss Kelsey a screenshot of my call log, and I asked the guy downstairs what happened the day before. And that's, he said they were updated late. That's why I missed, on the 21st.
All right, I mean, I can't hold that against you. I mean, and really the most problematic thing for me is you have to go to these appointments,
Yes, ma'am.
because it's not just our time. Have you been
Understand.
lectured enough? Do you understand how important it is?
I do.
What's his work schedule? The recommendation is for a day of jail forthwith, verification of an appointment within 7 days, continuing as directed, and all other conditions would just continue.
I think you already have your appointment set, right? Your next therapy appointment.
Yes, ma'am, I do. It's, April 14th, I wanna say. I got the text on my phone.
And you can provide that to Ms. Heather.
Yes, I
Have
can.
you seen it yet?
No, I have not.
All right. So
Good.
for the,
He does work tonight, but
I work Monday through, Friday. And I'm off, Friday afternoon, cause I work the night shift, and then I'm off Saturday, and then I go back Sunday.
has he done any jail yet?
No, Judge. Yeah, the first sanction was community service, the last 2 were court watching.
is the garden starting up soon, Judge?
April 20th, Saturday.
Saturdays are good days for him to do that sort of thing.
This is your final. I mean, you should get some jail time. When did he get put on probation?
It was right before the holidays, so it was sometime in December, I wanna say.
Oh, this was his 8/16/23. Oh, that's when he was referred. Did
Um,
he go into warrant status? Yes, he did. Mr. Perry,
I could be wrong about the date, Judge, but I believe it was, I believe I had ordered sometime right before the holidays, but I could be mistaken.
it was October.
Okay.
October 23. You're on your 4th violation. I've given you additional community service. So one was driving when you weren't supposed to, the CBD, which I do think the numbers were at like consistent with that, right? On and the gummy or whatever it was.
Yeah, he admitted that he used it, he just thought that it was THC
Yeah.
free, but we had the discussion, he's responsible for what he puts in his body.
All right. This is it. Next time you're going. 2 days community service plus 420 at the garden. So that's 20 hours of community service. You're gonna provide verification to Kelsey of your next therapy appointment. Thank you, within 7 days. And all of their conditions will continue. And all of that garden time and community service must be completed. He could do Saturdays, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so he has next 2 Saturdays?
For DPW,
Yeah,
yes, I can put him on.
next 2. I mean, I don't know if they've got time or to add them for this week, but if not this week, the following 2.
Okay.
I don't know if they're doing it over the holiday week even.
Judge,
know they're
I
not
was
ready.
scheduled next, not this following, but the next Saturday anyway, so if that,
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't count. You
That's what-
have to
that's what I
do
was
20, you have
expecting.
to do 2 days in the next 3 weeks, right? The
okay,
next, not this Saturday, the next 2 Saturdays plus 420 at the garden. And that, I mean, this is in addition to your regular community service. So it's not going to count towards your hours because it's an extension.
I understand that.
All right. All right, we're all set.
Thank you.